Hello guys, and welcome back. You join me here today in Schwarzwald, let me get that right, Schwarzwald, Germany, with a very special BMW M car, the first ever BMW M3 Touring. Competition, X-Drive. That's a long name, and it sounds heavy, right? Because it is, about 1,900 kilos. Over the last 6 days, I have driven this car for 2,000 kilometers. So, does this car seem completely unnecessary? Or has BMW actually crafted something special? I'll be frank, my hopes were not high at first. BMW has been under quite a lot of controversy lately, with every new car that they put out seemingly designed to give you a stroke. It feels as if they are leaving their core fan base behind, in search of a more, shall we say, extroverted enthusiast group. Maybe that's where BMW's marketing decided where the money is, the new money, but who knows. So I was relieved when they finally revealed the M3 Touring. Thank God they did not fuck it up. This car is gorgeous to look at. It's beautiful. Just look at its side profile. Just look at it. It's perfection. Maybe it was made for us BMW fanboys. I even got stopped by the German police because they wanted to compliment the car, which freaked me out for a second. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
What's your destination?
I'm going to Frankfurt.
Is this your car?
This is a rental car.
Rental car?
Yeah.
Okay. I love it too.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll even go as far to say that the massive grills on this car actually kind of works. Could this be just a case of mere exposure effect? I don't know. But as long as I like looking at it, it doesn't really matter, does it? This car. An M3 Touring. I can't help but wonder, how can BMW prioritize what's more important for this car? Should it be more of a grand touring experience, similar to the cars from Alpina? Or should it be an engaging sports car, but disguised in sheep's clothing? Well, after driving it for 6 full days, I think I finally have this car figured out. Quite simply, I think it actually manages to do both. In fact, I would go as far to say that it actually is an excellent car. However, all it asks before you judge it is to grow the fuck up. I'm sorry, did I offend you? Actually, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about myself. Let me explain. In order to truly appreciate and enjoy this car, I have to forget the kind of Hoonmobile that the M3s of the past were. And think of this new car as a grown-up's performance vehicle, a fully matured version compared to the teenager M3s of the past. So let's dive in. What were my first impressions on day one? Well, from the moment I got into this car, I felt isolated. Not just from the outside world, but from the rest of the car too. I can't feel the engine, not through the chassis, not through the steering, and not through the pedals. So believe it or not, during the entire 6 days of driving the car, of spending time with the car, I never bothered to pop open the hood and check out the engine because I just didn't really feel the presence of it most of the time. I mean, sure, it's a really powerful unit with over 500 horsepower, but unlike the M3s of the old, it no longer feels like the center stage of attention. The spotlight has been removed. So, On day one, this car felt more of a luxury experience than an M Motorsport Division product. Heck, it even has double glazed windows. I know, right? Whatever happened to the lightweight homologation race car roots of the original E30 M3? How much of the spine-tingling and frantic S14 powered M3's DNA can you find in this car? Pretty much none. But okay, maybe that's unfair, it's going too far back. But even if you compare this to the E90 generation M3, which I owned, it makes that M3 feel like an awkward adolescent boy. This M3 just feels so grown up. But maybe we can forgive it because it's a touring, right? So how about the rest of the driving experience? Well, let's start with the seats. I think the best compliment I can give these seats is that I only had to adjust it once during my entire journey, and it was the first time I got into the car. They are extremely comfortable. It even has heated controls, and it's ventilated too to keep your balls dry. Then there is the sound system. I'm sorry for talking about the sound system of an M car, but it truly was simply sublime. I'd be lying to myself if I said it wasn't one of the most enjoyable parts of this car for me, so I have to talk about it. Blasting my favorite playlist on this car on the Autobahn makes long drives just so much more enjoyable. The surround sound setup makes perfect use of the large interior space to make you feel enveloped by a vast soundstage. And because the build quality of this car is so high, you can absolutely blast your music near to the maximum volume, and there will not be a single rattle or buzz coming from any of the interior trims. You truly feel like you are lounging in a hi-fi room at 150 miles per hour using adaptive cruise control. It's amazing. And speaking of adaptive cruise control, did you know that the maximum speed you can set it in this car is 210 kilometers per hour? Of course I tried it, that's why I'm telling you that, and I tried it in the rain. Let's just say I had a few cold brown moments. Okay, so we've established that this car feels very grown up, but what if I don't want to grow up and all I care about is having a genuine M3 experience?
Squiggles.
Well, this is where I have to ask you to manage your expectations. You need to think of this car in today's new car environment. If you want something fizzy and old school feeling, then you're better off just buying an old car from the excellent catalog of BMW M cars of the past. If you want to buy this car so you can drive it like an asshole and go sideways on every intersection, then I'm sorry bro, this is not the car for you. Why do I know this? Because I tried to do that with this car, and I don't feel like it likes to go sideways that much. And because it's four-wheel drive, you have to turn it off, go through a bunch of settings. It just feels like a chore. That's how difficult it is to get the tail to come out. However, if you are willing to grow up and move past the high-revving, spine-tingling cars of the past, then, like me, you will be able to see this M3 touring in a new light. I'll be honest, it took me a few days to get to this point, but after driving this car, mostly on mountain roads, and even off-road in some sections, for 6 days, I am sold. This M3 is the real freaking deal. So what is it like to drive?
Very comfortable.
Like, to really drive? Well, all the driver inputs are numb and disconnected. Seriously, there is no steering feel. I don't understand why BMW steering feel has been becoming more and more numb with each generation ever since the E46. And as I said already, the engine is no longer in the spotlight. Sure, you can hear it, but you are very aware that the warbling sound and oftentimes drony edge note is actually just being pumped out by the speakers. What about the different drive modes? Maybe there's a combination of settings that turns this car into a magical experience. Actually, I'm not a fan of how complicated the settings have to be as well. Why does it have to be so complicated? All I need is just 3 modes. Maybe someone in BMW has been playing too much Gran Turismo. You get the feeling that this car had a huge team of computer engineers tuning and calibrating it. But speaking of calibrations, this is where I think we can transition and focus on the strengths of this car. So even though I have repeatedly talked about how numb this car is, despite that, BMW knows how to calibrate the shit out of their cars and to make them feel natural and instinctive to drive. For example, let's talk about the engine. They managed to make the car have good throttle response all throughout the rev range. The torque delivery is also very impressive. You have sufficient torque as low as 1,500 RPM. So it's enough when you climb up a hill and you use a higher gear, and the car would just scoot up the hill no problem at low RPMs.
Whoa, little deer.
So typically a car with lots of torque down low would usually die off at the top end. But this car manages to keep on pulling and feel even faster when it reaches redline. And it really feels to me that they have made a perfect turbo inline 6 for this car. It's just a shame that you can't really feel or hear it. Next, the steering response and handling also feel like it's been calibrated to near perfection. Despite the car lacking in feel, I actually felt confident when pushing this car hard on the mountain roads. And once you really start driving this car, instead of just piloting it, all of your criticisms about it starts to fade away and they get silenced. You forget that you were just lounging in a near 2-ton lump of a car, and all of a sudden you are driving the fastest and most capable M3 ever made. The way this car can eat up corners and arrive at the next one is truly unbelievable. To the extent that I started to feel like I was the weakest link in the car.
Slippery. Very slippery.
As if the car was saying to me, "You've been calling me fat and oversized and this is the fastest you dare to go? Ha, I'm barely breaking a sweat." It rained pretty much the entire time I drove this car in Germany, and the tires fitted to them are Michelin Alpines. But even so, I was still very impressed by the level of grip that this car is able to maintain mid-corner. This car has a talent of managing all 4 contact patches evenly distributed at all times. So the level of grip on all 4 wheels always feel very high. Just when you think that the car might step out, nope, the car continues to grip and hold on to the corner.
I'm in 2-wheel drive mode and it feels completely planted. What the heck? This car is too capable. It's almost... it just out-talents me. I feel bad. I feel like I'm a bad driver when I'm in this car, because I can't get it to dance. Even if I am driving like an asshole.
Shit, I really felt like this car was beyond my capabilities. And it doesn't make me feel bad about it. It actually makes me want to become a better driver when I drive this car. So I actually had to adapt my driving style because of this car. Because when you're pushing it, since you no longer rely on the steering feel or other raw sensory inputs, you actually have to focus your attention on the chassis through your seat. I was able to focus my concentration on the core of my body and just moving with the car when cornering left and right. So instead of squeezing the steering wheel, I'm starting to guide it. And through that driving style, I was able to feel the limits of grip of the car. I know it's It sounds like I'm going crazy, but maybe if you don't take my word for it, then at least you will take the word of a legendary Nürburgring driver, Misha. So I urge you to watch his video on YouTube of him driving the M3 Touring around the Nürburgring, and you'll see what a great car it is. He had nothing bad to say about it. Now, I can go on to talk about the four-wheel drive system and the great gearing of the transmission. Instead, I'll just leave you guys with some driving footage of the car instead, so you can see what it's like on the mountain roads.
This just shows how bloody capable this car is. Brakes are not great, juddering. But that's not the car's fault, that's just poor maintenance. Okay, I gave him a 2-minute head start. Oh well, that's... I think I've proven my point. This car does everything. This car is just multi-talented in every single aspect. Thumbs up. Thank you.
But before I go, I just want to share a few final thoughts. The first one is, if the engine no longer feels like the main attraction of the car, then could this M3 Touring potentially become better if it eventually becomes an EV? I don't know. And as much as I enjoyed driving this car in beautiful countryside Germany, after coming home, I still kind of don't want to grow up. I still want to drive my 135i and go sideways on every corner. And so, after thinking about it for some time, yes, it is tempting to own a car like the M3 Touring just because it's so damn cool. But at the end of the day, wouldn't it just be better if I could have two cars, one that is focused on pure fun and one that is more focused on luxury, instead of having one that does it all? But hey, like I always say, if you have the money and you want something nice, just go buy this car. You're not gonna be disappointed. Anyways, thank you for watching and have a good one, guys. Bye.